Just in case you missed it, it's the top 5 sports talkers of the day. Now, it's time for Dan Barrero's Top 5 at 5. Brought to you by Gutter Helmet of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
All right, let's. I'm glad you finally got to it because I did mean to at least. I didn't want to sensationalize this story like you just did, potentially. But it may be a little too early to panic, but it certainly would be under the classification of, given all we know about pitchers, especially veteran pitchers, a great sign of concern.
I just watched, I think, like the pre-practice speech from your guy Derek Shelton, and it was inspiring. It was like PJ Fleck was in the room for me. And he's talking about hunting the good and win the drill, win the day. Negativity will bring you down. Every single detail
Were there any jar references?
No lid off the jar.
No lid off the jar, okay.
But it was only about a 45-second clip.
Gotcha.
So the group, you could tell, was motivated. They were ready to go.
They're going to run through a brick wall for him?
I did see that quote. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pablo Lopez, the ace pitcher, who was injured a year ago, if we recall, left his throwing session early today with right elbow soreness.
Oh, lovely.
This is Dan Hayes from The Athletic.
Special.
Live batting practice session. He threw 2 pitches at the start of his third inning and left. Nobody with the Twins knew the severity of Lopez's elbow issue, and they won't know until after the All-Star pitcher undergoes an MRI.
The dreaded MRI, you say.
Here's Shelty's quote. It's some soreness, and we want to be abundantly careful because it's Feb 16. I look for the good things that happened. I don't live in a speculative world. It's a terrible place to be in this game. We're always going to be speculating about what's going to happen or what's not going to happen. You don't do that because you end up worrying about 90% of the stuff that never comes to fruition. Right now, I'm taking that we had a really good day, but he felt some soreness. We'll get it looked at and move on from there. It was the first full squad workout, and Pablo Lopez had to leave it early.
Yeah, it might end up being a trifle, but it's always concerning. We know how it goes in Major League Baseball these days. Pitchers, especially pitchers who have a little bit of mileage on them. I know we're an embarrassment of riches in terms of our starters, but I'm thinking it would be a bit difficult to get off on the right foot if your best pitcher, for some reason, might be out for an extended period of time. We have no evidence of that yet. But, man, this is the first time I assume he was out there.
Yeah.
And
with the full team.
With the full team, third inning, and it's already a problem. That's not good. That's not what you want to hear. Let's put it that way.
It was not good news. Anthony Edwards, he brought it yesterday. I know you were inspired. 32 points, 9 rebounds. He won the MVP, Dan, of the All-Star game.
He did?
He did. Wemby set the tone, according to
game?
Ant. The whole thing.
Oh, so it's for all the games?
For
and
all the games. How many were there
played? Like 7? 7 12-minute quarters?
It was 4 12-minute games involving the 3 teams.
Okay.
And Ant's team was Team Stars. That's the young Americans. Not to be confused.
The youngins, they called them.
Not to be confused with Team Stripes, which were the old heads, as they called them.
Okay.
And not to be confused with the World Team, which, as you would imagine.
Seemed bored with the whole thing.
Well, Ant even said that. After.
Did he? Yeah.
He said, Luka and Joker aren't here for this. He just said they don't want to do it.
Well, somebody did write that for whatever reason, Joker has been bored with all All-Star games, which, again, you can respect on one level, but is he bored with them because he notes that most players don't try, or he also is not interested in trying? You know
I just don't think he's interested in it. He's barely interested in being here to play the regular season.
Yeah, but he's committed when he is.
He is, and he's great, and he's won 3 MVPs, obviously.
Might win another one.
Might win another one.
Well, you might be in trouble in that regard. I got some stats for you later that you're not going to like.
Me?
Yeah, relating to SGA.
Oh, I'm interested.
Yeah, it's not looking good for you.
For me?
Well, just because of how you feel about him, I just think it might be a rude awakening when the voting begins.
Oh, interesting.
But anyway, I'll save that for later.
So now everybody gets the break, and you just heard Tom Crean with you about an hour ago talk about the break that everybody needs in the National Basketball Association. The Wolves are off for a few days, returning Friday night at home.
It's too long.
It's a long break.
Too long. Get back out there.
They're taking on, actually, we should have brought it up, Tom Crean's Dallas Mavericks, because his kid works for the Mavs.
That's right. Yeah, you're right.
He's one of the second or third row guys for the Mavs. The Mavs are in town with your guy, Cooper Flagg. So we got 4 days with no National Basketball Association, but the Wolves ready to be in a good mood, hopefully. Hopefully the weather, puts them back in a good mood. The fact that it's like 50 this week.
We're hosting Dallas?
Hosting Dallas.
Okay.
Friday night.
Will the Phenom be... He's hurt, right? Who's their star player?
Cooper Flagg,
Cooper Flagg, I think, because he missed the All-Star game.
He's got a foot injury.
He's got a foot issue.
He's already been ruled out for Thursday's game against the Lakers.
Also,
that's a buzzkill.
Realistically, might not be there for Friday either.
That's an ESPN game, Cooper. You better be there.
Off to a pretty good start.
Yeah, he's good.
Although, according to John Malm Ashburn, he wouldn't be any higher than the 7th or 8th player selected in the upcoming
Just
draft.
remember, I said this.
Is that somebody said that's just about where he went to school? That from Ashburn, it's a trolling thing where he just can't.
I doubt it.
But how? But I mean, how can you be that moronic to say something like that?
I don't know.
I mean, the guy has already done historic stuff. And if you want to say, hey, there's a few people I think who can measure up with him, but I mean, I just think you make yourself look foolish. I get it; it's a podcast, and there's a million of them.
There's just too many.
I'm surprised that there's not anybody on the rest of that set who said, "Are you insane? I mean, why are you? What
do they pay you?
What do they pay you? It just doesn't make sense." But go ahead.
Gopher women's basketball team in our final minute here have won 8 in a row for Boudreaux. They crushed Wisconsin yesterday
and ranked now 23. Correct?
They are ranked for the first time. Yeah, they were.
I'm glad you brought it up, but they're worth more time. My intention either today or tomorrow was to give them a segment for you to scout them for us, for the casual fan who maybe hasn't
would love to
paying enough attention to them, because this is a really good stretch. Obviously, this looks like they are ready to kind of break out a little bit in a way that obviously, this would be the first tournament appearance since 18?
Since 2018.
Yeah, I mean that's a long time.
It is. I've used that year a lot. They've done a lot of things that they haven't done since that season. And how about this week? They host
a big week. Ohio State,
number 10 Ohio State on Wednesday night at the Barn.
Right.
Then they host number 18 Michigan State on Sunday at the Barn.
Will Izzo be there?
I don't think he will be.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember a bigger week and for either basketball program. When you factor in they're alive for a double bye in the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, it's amazing.
They're alive to actually host NCAA tournament games.
You know all this stuff more than I do. Is it the NetJet rating or the net rating, whatever? I think they're like 9th in the country.
9th. Yeah.
Now, I know that's not a be-all, but that's pretty... when's the last time we've been in the top 10 ever in the NetJet ratings?
Well, what's interesting about the NetJet ratings is they are, for some reason, like the outlier when it translates to the actual rankings.
I noticed that, yeah.
Which is annoying.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, does that fall into the classification of, you've been off the radar, so we're just going to be stubborn about giving you the love?
I think so.
I mean, I'm not defending it, but that does tend to happen.
And I think it's happening, but because their resume now in real time with quad 1 wins and teams they've beaten, they just beat Iowa, who's still ranked in the top 15 in their place. Like, they definitely should be higher, but being ranked, that's good. Good start. And I'm excited for this week. It's two big-time opponents that are coming in with a ton at stake in a million different ways. So, we'd love to talk more about it. No grand in your hand.
That's right. No grand in your hand. I keep waiting for it, but today's not the day because it's a holiday. I think it's going to be back, you said, on tomorrow's program. I have another baseball item I do want to discuss with you. We'll get to that, and it is also Twins-related, and I'm kind of confused by it. Maybe you can help me there. And then we'll prepare for Jonny Athletic at the bottom of the hour.
KFAN welcomes some great shows to Mystic Lake Amphitheater. Leonard Skinner and Foreigner will be there August 16th. Motley Crue will be there on August 21st. You can get the complete details on all their upcoming shows at the concert page, KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
All right, so you mentioned the at least concerning news regarding Paulo Lopez. Felt some tightness, shall we say, a little bit of a twinge of something in his elbow, correct? Of his pitching arm?
Yes, right elbow.
So they shut him down. They're going to do an MRI, and we'll see where it is. It might be much ado about nothing. It might be something more significant than that. The other nugget I'm trying to process, Twins-related, is it sounds like Byron Buxton's mad as hell and he's not going to take it anymore. And he met the Jackals, I think it was yesterday, sometime over the weekend, and he said, I got something stuck in my craw. I don't understand why, the organization, they could have shut down all the trade rumors in the offseason, and they didn't do that. And he seemed bothered by that. Here's my question to you. And I you know me, I'm the last person who generally stands tall for the Minnesota Twins organization from ownership on down. But I don't think I'm making this up. Sometime in the last several months, either late during the season or after the season, one of the local shock jocks reported, and I don't know if there was ever a direct quote or it was the old, okay, I know this. He's not necessarily going to go on with it or go with it on the record, but I know it to be true, that he being Buxton, was revisiting his earlier stance, which was, I got a no trade clause. I'm here. I'm Twin for life. And that he had even, there was indication that he might be reconsidering that. And the assumption was it had something to do with a lot of the decisions, the possibility that the Twins might trade one or both of their starting, the pitchers towards the top of the rotation. Maybe continuing to reduce the payroll even more than they have. I don't know all the permutations, but I don't think I'm making that up. I know we talked about it.
I feel like we talked about it, yeah.
That
I'm looking for it right now.
I don't think there was ever a direct quote from him on that, but that was the indication that was given. So to that extent, I'm going, well, maybe the organization didn't even know if you wanted it shut down. If you're sending out that vibe, maybe it's something that they assumed was not necessarily going to be an issue, no matter what the organization's position might have been on that, right? So that's the part that, that would be my comeback to Buck would be, well, no, wait. Now, he might deny it. Like I said, he may say, well, I never said that. Even if somebody else reported it as if there was some truth to it. So I don't know that that's the... Now, I guess it would be different if we find out, and I don't know if this was covered in the presser, if Buck goes to management and says in the offseason, hey, I need you to shut this down. Whatever's been written, I don't want to go anywhere, and I don't want to hear my name bandied about. I'm here. You can't do anything without my approval, and I'm not going to approve anything. I'm staying here. I guess that's possible that they did that, but in the world in which we live in a world in which now more than ever, a coach, and most assuredly an athlete, especially a world-class athlete, has ways on his or her own to announce whatever they want to. They don't need
That's true.
Jonny Athletic. They don't need Aaron Gleeman, right? They don't need anybody like that. They can just... So couldn't he also have just made a proclamation? Hey, by the way, I don't know about these rumors. I ain't going anywhere. It just seemed like he was protesting too much, given the door allegedly had been opened at some point. Correct? Did you find the story? I want to say it was. Was it Athletic? Not Gleeman, but who is it? Dan Hayes? Could have been Dan Hayes. I don't remember.
No, I don't think it was Hayes. I thought it was bigger. I thought it was the original Nightingale.
Oh, that might be right. You might be right.
That's who I'm looking.
Yeah, you might be right.
I'm going back over some of his tweets because I remember it.
Correct. So whatever.
But I couldn't find the actual story yet. But I'll find it now that I've been charged with it. I will find it because we definitely talked about it.
Yeah.
Now that again, like you said, could have just been speculation.
True.
That might have been.
That's true.
That might not have been like right from Buxton's camp. That might have been something that was heard at the winter meetings because I think that's when it was.
Yeah, you might be right.
That there might be some indications, but you're right. Byron Buxton, he has the ability to do what he wants to do.
Here's the weird thing about it. See, to me, I would think if I'm Buxton and I'm watching what's going on around me, all the uncertainty, I'd want there to be some uncertainty. But I wouldn't want to be counted on. I'd want them to wonder about what I'm thinking. Right?
Yes.
Because he does have, I think, a little bit of leverage at this point. He had a really good year last year and played a lot.
He did.
Now, can he sustain that? We don't know. But I don't think, with his contract, and I know there'd be great interest in Buxton. if he said, I want out of this place. Get me out of Dodge.
His contract is tremendous.
So it's odd to think that he was almost annoyed or sounds annoyed that, well, the last thing I want is anybody to think that I might want to leave the Minnesota Twins. Okay, God bless you. I don't think it's a long line in that regard, but if that's what you want to go with, that's fine for me. But I did think that was, and maybe there's more to it next time we have Gleeman on or someone else. Maybe Lavel has some insight into that, but that was my initial reaction to it. I was like, well, why is he? Wasn't there a story? Again, it wasn't his quote.
Right.
But it seemed to indicate that, and in fact, he even there was some point either late in the season or in the postseason or after the season when he had expressed a little bit more of an edge regarding this team than he had before. And I think a lot of us thought, well, maybe that's the first sign. There's a little crack there. It may not be a schism, but there might be a little bit of crack, but a little bit of distance between the organization and Byron Buxton, who has had to try to stand tall, who wants to stand tall with, I got a no trade clause. I want to be with the Minnesota Twins. I don't want to mess with anything else.
The other place where I'll defend the Twins, too, is we've clearly seen the last couple of months was an organization in some turmoil and transition.
Yes, that's for sure.
With people not...
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, with not knowing who the boss was going to be.
It's a great point.
And the bosses not even knowing if they were going to be there.
Yes.
As much as it looked like Falvey and Shelty looked great when they walked by us at the Target Center cage, I think on January 20th or whenever that was.
Oh.
There was a lot going on.
Here's one of our intrepid listeners thinks he's found it was Passan. Is it Jeff Passan? Is that his name?
Okay.
Quote, Buxton is willing to waive his no-trade clause, and not just for Atlanta. He's a Georgia native, which puts the Twins in an interesting position. If Buxton goes, does that mean the Twins would be open to dealing some of their pitching too? Now, I don't have a date.
I was going to say, when is that? That doesn't sound like what we talked about.
But that's more direct.
Yeah.
But I thought it was somebody local. Like you said, I thought it might have been Hayes. You said you thought it might have been Star Tribune guy, right?
I thought it was, the USA Today guy.
It was Senior, Nightingale Senior, you're saying. So now, Buxton again could say, well, I'm not quoted in here. I can't be held responsible for jackals making stuff up. But Passan's a very thorough
he's locked.
And fair reporter. He's not a guy who generally is known to make stuff up. So that would indicate agent or somebody saying something about it. And that's where I'm just wondering if this is like a double game being played. Like, come on, man, you're all upset about this. They didn't shut it down. Well, if your agent or somebody around you was leaking previously that you would be willing to trade a no-trade clause, it comes off a little self-righteous now and almost a little disingenuous that I can't believe that the Twins wouldn't shut it all down. All right, you can keep looking. When we come back, we'll check.
Yeah, that's passing from early December, which would have been.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, not that long, not that far off, really, just a couple months ago. We'll get to Johnny on a number of subjects. If you have questions for Jonny Athletic, the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line is open at 64686. We'll find out what his favorite Robert Duvall role or character might be, and we'll get to some other very controversial subjects, not just from the world of basketball, maybe even the world of professional football as well. Stay tuned.
It's time for Jonny Athletic, Jonny Athletic, Jonny Athletic. And he's on with Dan Barrero right now.
It is that time. If you have questions for Johnny, as I said, hit the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line at 64686. Johnny, I got an opening question for you. Let me see if I can find the post. It's on X, so you know it's got to be true, right?
Oh, boy. Here we go.
Florida grandmother drove the same car for 53 years, and then the odometer hit 567,000 miles. Rachel Veach's life story cannot be told without mentioning her car, a 1964 Mercury Comet Caliente she lovingly named La Chariot. By the time she finally stopped driving, the odometer read 567,000 miles. That's more than the distance from Earth to the moon and back. Can you I'm sure you're a big car guy.
Yeah.
In your blue-collar Jonny Athletic days, What's the most number of miles you ever ended up on the odometer? Can you approach 567,000 miles?
Nothing even close to that. I want to say, I think the highest I've gotten, way back in the day, the first car I ever had, my dad bought a Ford F-150,
Nice.
1984.
Yeah.
It was $150. And we kind of redid the engine and did some work on it. And I think we got that one up to maybe 198,000, close to 200,000. But I don't think I've ever been over 200,000 on a vehicle. And so, that they just don't make them like they used to. The Mercury Comet Caliente. I wonder what the package is for the Caliente version of the Mercury Comet. It had to be something great.
Good question.
Yeah.
Didn't Lori Fisher, isn't she over 200,000 miles on her Prius?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe she
Wow.
was.
That's impressive of its own, to be honest. In this day and age, I think to even get over 200,000, I'm pretty sure she surpassed 200.
That sounds right. My 2008 Honda Accord got over 200K.
Is that right?
It did.
That's good.
Yep, until like last summer, 2 summers ago.
And the Accord, about 72 miles to the gallon?
It's unbelievable.
I mean, it's one of the most efficient vehicles ever made.
It's unbelievable.
Correct?
Yeah.
You got to fill it up like once a month, maybe.
It's true.
It's amazing.
200K.
That's what it is. I just saw that out of nowhere, and I thought it was kind of fun and kind of interesting. Questions I mentioned for Johnny we can put into the mix. Before we talk basketball and maybe All-Star Game, as much as I don't really want to, I do want to catch up on the purple. Do you have among the I guess realistic candidates to be the veteran to come in to either compete for the job or be available if J.J. McCarthy flames out or gets injured again? Do you have somebody that you say, I'm not going to give a name that's great but is not realistic. I'm going to give you a name that is realistic, who I also think might be intriguing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's so much. I don't know why there's so much Kyler Murray discussion, because I don't feel like he's a great fit for what Kevin O'Connell wants to do, for how the Vikings want to run their offense. But he's obviously a big name. I mean, a couple of names that stick out to me, at least as intriguing, are Mac Jones. I don't know what it would cost to get him, but I imagine it would be fairly significant. But I think that, kind of following a similar path that Darnold followed to get here would be an ideal scenario. The other one that I really like a lot, but again, maybe too expensive, Malik Willis is a guy that I always was really intrigued about in the draft. I thought that the Vikings should have taken a look at him as he fell down the board, and I think he has sort of revived his career in Green Bay, and at least has the physical tools and has some experience that he could come in and would be an interesting option. Again, I'm not sure what the price tag would be, and if you'd have to guarantee him a starting spot opposite JJ, I don't know, but those are two names that at least stand out to me a little bit.
Your favorite, John? We mentioned earlier the ratings, which confirm that we love watching the Winter Olympics in this market. We were tied for number one with, what did I say? I think it was Fort Myers, believe it or not, and us tied for the highest rating in terms of watching the Winter Olympics. And as you know, half of Fort Myers used to live in Minnesota. So I was going to say,
how many of us are down
exactly,
there? So, yeah, that skews it.
So what's Jonny Athletic's favorite Winter Olympics viewing opportunity or option?
People are going to laugh at me for this. I do love watching Olympic hockey.
Oh, come on. Really don't patronize.
I am not patronizing. This is not an olive branch, because we will have plenty of battles. I will take the branch back as soon as the NHL starts again.
Yeah.
I really do enjoy that. But, if you want to go a little bit off of the conventional path, I really do love watching bobsled and luge. Like, it's just like the speed of it. And like this year, following the drones down the chute with the lugers has been super cool to watch that. And it really gives you a new appreciation for how fast they're going. And and just how kind of dangerous it really is. I mean, that's one of those things where I look at it and just like, there's no way you could pay me enough to do something like that. But I really kind of enjoy that. And the NBC viewing of having the drones behind it and doing it has been really
unbelievable.
Cool to watch.
Yeah, unbelievable. I can remember covering a luge event. I don't know, this might have been Calgary, Sarah, I'm not sure which one it was, but what struck me is it's the worst place from which to cover said event because, as you know, and you get some sense of this on TV, but nothing like when you're right beside a portion of the track. They're by you in an instant, and then they're gone. And you're waiting, I guess, for the next one. And unless they happen to crash right around where you are, there ain't nothing you can really get out of it. Other than you do get a sense of the speed. I mean, that's the one reason to do it is just, oh my God, the TV can't even begin to capture it. But otherwise, you're like, oh, well, I got to get to the press area or I got to get to the end of it, whatever, because I have no idea what the hell's going on in the luge from this spot because they're here and they're gone in an instant.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the one Winter Olympics I did cover in Sochi, I did not get out to the mountain or to see any skiing, to see any luge or bobsledding. I was kind of more in the village area, and so I missed that. But I did have some friends who covered that particular event, and they said the same thing. It's like, look, I just have to sit in the media center and watch it on TV just because there's just no way to be able to kind of look at the bigger picture, really understand what's going on, and see what happens if you're actually out watching it live at the track or whatever you want to call it. So, but yeah, it's one of those things where you probably just have to watch it on TV. But man, it's like those guys, especially the losers, like if they move even like a quarter of an inch the wrong way, they're gone.
Yeah, that's it.
The body control and everything that it takes to do that it's incredible.
All right, so yesterday, Victor Wembanyama made some news with a statement that should be self-evident, but is radical and profound in 2026. It's the game we love. Being competitive is the least I can do. And Anthony Edwards credited the Victor approach in the All-Star game as kind of bringing him along. And I think previously you've reminded us, Anthony has not exactly been blue-collar at the All-Star game. He seems kind of bored with all of it. So do we buy the notion that Victor's the key to whatever, if you want to call it, revolution took place, at least for Anthony Edwards, or is that Anthony Edwards just being nice?
No, I actually think that Ant is being genuine there because I've been at All-Star games with Ant in the past. I did not go this year, in part because I did not think he was going to play, or if he did play, I did not think he was going to play hard. That was me being honest.
Yeah.
Like he has not shown any interest in competing at a high level in those things. And in fairness to him, a lot of the elders who came before him and were setting the stage that he was living by and learning from, they weren't exactly setting a good example. And so, he kind of just followed the path. But they showed an exchange before the first game when it was the Stripes versus the World, and they were all backstage getting ready to go out. And Wemby said to Ant and stared at him and said, "I've got you. I'm guarding you." And Ant thought it looked like he was smiling at first and thought, he's kind of joking. And then he looked and understood that Wemby wasn't joking. And I do think that stoked some fire. I really do. Like, I have not seen Anthony Edwards compete like that in that kind of a situation. I think the format helped as well because it was just 12 minutes in each of these stretches, so you could just go. But I do think that Wemby got to Ant and said, he said, "I'm coming right at you." And so that really appealed to Anthony's just machismo and I better stand up for myself or I'm going to get embarrassed. And to his credit, man, he played great and he really responded to it.
The best suggestion or idea you have either read or heard regarding the league's tanking issue and how to address it?
Yeah, it's so difficult, Dan, because, I mean, there's a million ideas out there, and everyone says, "Oh, this is it. It's this simple. You do this." And I just don't think there is a magic bullet solution. You can say get rid of the draft, but I don't like that idea because then you're going to have shoe companies and other sponsors really pushing the best of the best to go to New York or LA or places like this. And there's going to be so many unintended consequences with that. And so where I've landed, and I don't think it's perfect, but I think expanding the pool of lottery eligible teams to those eliminated in the first round of the playoffs and then flattening those odds even more, might get you as close as possible to some sort of reasonable thing. So then you can say, hey, we're going to go for the playoffs, and if we make it, we're going to get extra gate money from the tickets, and then also we'll have the same odds as the team that finishes 30th in the league. And so something like that, I feel like is both digestible for the fan and then also might have enough of an effect on the teams to say, all right, this is the benefits of tanking are just not going to be as much there. That I think that's as close as I've gotten to saying I could get behind that.
Is money, by NBA terms, a $500,000 fine is considerable, but for a billionaire, I don't know, is if it's tip money or not. I think the only way you get anybody's attention is if you start pulling draft choices, or you say, well, now instead of having the greatest percentage chance, you're down with a 0.5% chance. At the very least, at the bottom, we're taking away any of the advantage you thought you were going to get being towards the top. Does that sound right to you? I just don't think money as a fine is going to have any impact.
Yeah, I agree that money does not have an impact, Dan, because let's just take a look at the Timberwolves, for instance, all right? They did do some tanking to get to a point where they drafted Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
At the time that Anthony Edwards comes in number 1 overall, this team was, the value of the team, the success of the team, all of that was in the tank, in the gutter. Like you might not have been able to sell him for $1 billion at that time. Ant comes in, one player essentially has reshaped this franchise, and now they're probably going to build a new arena because of Anthony Edwards. They sold for $1.5 billion, but they're worth $3.5, $4 billion now. There's just too much to be gained by getting that one superstar player. It happened with the Warriors with Steph Curry. It happened with the Cavaliers with LeBron. A million examples. And so I just don't think that there is a price tag you can put on this that's high enough for the owners to not risk doing it. For instance, this year, everyone believes that like the top 2 or 3 guys might all be franchise-altering players. And so $500,000 is not going to deter the Jazz from trying to get that guy. It's $1 million is not going to deter the Sacramento Kings from trying to get that guy. And so until you get some kind of penalties that are more damaging than the bottom line, because the bottom line can be increased so much by getting that 1-star player, I just don't think it's going to have any kind of effect on deterring tanking tactics.
I don't know if Finchie is much of a delivering a speech or a message guy, but if he is, what do you think it's going to be now that, we get at the end of the week, they finally play, I think, on Friday, and now you're down to just a handful of games, right? Well, 26 games left. What do you think the Finchie message is going to be to his group at this point?
Yeah, I mean, this is not a guess. This is pretty educated on my part, Dan, that I think that the message is going to be when they come back, it's like, all right, the hardest part of the regular season is over. We're through the slog of it. You guys got a week off to rest and relax and recharge. And now let's take a look at the Western Conference landscape. And this thing is wide open. And what it's going to take for the Timberwolves to become a true viable contender in the Western Conference and to take that final step is going to be some sacrifice on the part of every player that's going to get minutes. And that means sacrificing. Some people are going to sacrifice shots. Some people are going to sacrifice minutes. Some people are going to sacrifice offense for increased defensive effort. But I think it's going to be a lot of preaching about the selflessness that they're going to have to show that they have not shown to this point, because the opportunity for them to not just win a couple of series, to not just get to the finals, but to actually win this thing is realistic. It's not likely. It doesn't, they're not the favorites, but this is a real possibility that is in front of them. And if they can do those things, and if they can give themselves up for the team, they're going to have a real shot at this. And I think that's going to be a lot of the message that they hear when they come back from whatever beach they're on these last couple of days before the break ends.
In other words, what you're saying is stop being so moody. That's what he's going to say.
Yes. Yeah. And honestly, Dan, I do think the coaching staff has to take practice what they preach as well.
Right.
Like this is everyone has been under a lot of pressure and a lot of stress. And, I had a conversation with Chris Finch, and I wrote about this before the season started at The Athletic. And Finch started the training camp with his coaches, looking around the room and saying, I want everyone to go around the room and say, what is your pinch me moment of being in the NBA? So this was a whole thing of like, hey, let's recognize that this is pretty darn cool. Mm-hmm. What we get to do is amazing. And that was, frankly, when he told me that story, it surprised me a little bit, because I just didn't think that he had that kind of perspective in him. But I think the coaches have to have that, and the players have to have that. Now, there's got to be a lot more of appreciation and enjoyment, and it sounds kind of hunky-dory, and it sounds kind of kumbaya, but this is a team that kind of has not been able to stop and smell the roses a little bit, and it gets a little bit too down on itself and gets too mired in the muck of the day-to-day grind. And they've got to enjoy themselves a little bit more, and they've got to lighten that load. And I think the coaches have to as well.
Can you answer a question offered up from a gentleman who refers to himself as Minneapolis hockey guy?
I will do the best I can.
Here's what he has. It's very in-depth. Question for Johnny on the Wild in their current era and the Wolves of 3 to 5 years ago. Does Johnny view the Wild in this squishy middle, struggling to get by the first round, needing to make a big shift on their roster, like the Wolves did by getting Rudy and others? Are they at the same, wait for it, inflection point, or do you view them differently? What would Johnny do if he were Billy G?
I think that I say this with all sincerity, and I said this after the Quinn Hughes trade. I loved that move because it was much like the Wolves were kind of, they were just bad. The Wolves were just bad, but the Wild were stuck in this middle ground, this mediocrity, and kind of waiting for something to go their way. And what Billy G decided to do was say, I'm not going to wait any longer. I'm going to try and make something happen here. And so he gave up a lot, but he went and got the guy. And that's exactly what Tim Connolly did with Rudy Gobert, is he's like, I'm tired of waiting. And that, even though that was his first year on the job, he looked around. We don't need to wait anymore. We're going to get the guy. And that really did work for the Wolves. And I do think that the Wild, in some similar way, have this huge piano on their backs of all of this playoff failure and falling short again and again. And they've been mediocre for most of their existence. And so the way that taking that big swing, that was exactly what I would have done. And we'll see how it pans out. The playoffs in hockey are crazy, but I do applaud the guts to do that and to take that risk and give up future for the present, because it had gotten way too stagnant around here. And so we'll see if it pans out for them. But I do see some similarities to the texter's point about the Wolves going for Rudy and paying a huge ransom for him, and the Wild going for Quinn Hughes and doing that.
I want to finish with two.
But they got to win, Dan. But they got to win. They got to win. The Wolves have won. The Wild have not done that yet.
You had to throw it in there. You had to stick the needle in at the end, didn't you? It's perfectly gone along perfectly fine. And then at the very end, here comes the jab.
Well, hopefully Nathan McKinnon's injured in the second round of the playoffs like Steph Curry was last year,
Whoa.
Kind of give you a bye.
Was that from you or from Fallness?
It's for Fallness.
For Fallness. No, that's fairly done.
I'm just getting ahead of it.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm just getting ahead of it.
Hey, every team has a little bit of luck here and there, and so you can only play the team that's in front of you. Who knows what happened? Maybe Steph would have been there, and they would have locked in even further and finished the Warriors off in 6, and it would have been even greater win. But all they can do is play the team in front of them.
2 favorite questions to wrap things up with Jonny Athletic, brought to you by RBC Wealth Management. Your favorite Robert Duvall role or film?
Man, I love Duvall so much. It's going to be cliche, but I mean, him as Tom Hagen, like I watched The Godfather 5 times.
Hard to argue.
Like
Yep.
I probably do. Like it's just like but I say an underrated one.
Yes.
Is the kind of crew chief in Days of Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really just enjoyed him in that Tom Cruise movie. Like I mean, he had fun with the role. He really had good chemistry with Cruise. A lot of funny moments. Just a super like human job by him. And so that would be my off the grid choice. But I mean, Tom Hagen is iconic.
Lastly, I've been informed by my former radio partner that he believes the final Chad and Barrero show took place 25 years ago today. 25 years ago today. Now, I'm terrible at any of that. I couldn't even begin to tell you, but that's what he's thinking. Gaardsy's shaking his head. You don't believe it?
2001? Is that the math?
That's the math.
That would be the math, but I didn't start it. I thought I started in 2002. Anyway, regardless, I was going to ask you for your favorite Chad and Barrero moment. I know what Gaardsy's is, but I'm trying to find out what Jonny Athletic's is.
I've got a few.
Yeah.
I will say this. I'll put this out there right now on live radio. One thing that has been sitting in the back of my mind as a piece that I have wanted to do for The Athletic is a Chad and Barrero retrospective.
Really?
So will you commit on live radio here to a 2-hour sit down to open up the vein and let's reconstruct it. Let's live the highs and the lows.
Yeah.
Let's laugh and cry about it, and let's do a Jonny Athletic special and tug at some heartstrings.
I'm more than willing to cooperate. My problem is my memory. I'm not as good at others, including Chad, at remembering nuggets or Gaardsy even. It's almost like. I don't think this is an age thing. I think this is how
I was going to say, because we should do it quick then to make sure it doesn't get worse.
I don't think it's that. I don't know, but I'd do it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but
I will find people to fill in the gaps.
The problem is,
don't you worry about that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 2002 when but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he allegedly has charted this out. I have no idea. Gaardsy, you thought that's off too?
I thought so, but again, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
I trust Chad on that.
Yeah,
I would trust him on that.
He's usually pretty good about stuff like that.
Hey, now that you're committed, maybe this summer we'll take a look at it.
There's no question.
That'd be a lot of fun.
Radio 1130.
The Fan.
KFAN. With Chad and Barrero.
Oh, those are the days. Oh, you love that finish.
It's unbelievable music.
It's unbelievable.
And then this opens the hour, basically, is what it says.
Is that the one?
Yeah.
We had a few. The Chad and Barrero jingles.
Steve Ashburner coming up next segment.
That's it. Oh, that's too good.
That's nostalgia right there, baby.
That really
I love
is.
it.
Chad and Barrero on Sports Radio 1130. The Fan. KFAN.
Yeah.
Here's my favorite
They just
one.
don't make them like that
No, they
anymore.
don't. They really don't. Another one?
Chad and Barrero. Dan Barrero on the Fan.
Dan Barrero.
Why don't we make those again?
Well, the choirs are
That's
expensive.
fantastic.
That's true.
We could do it with AI now.
Yeah,
but
easily, cheaply.
Those choirs did it for every sports radio station in the country. I think WFAN still uses some of them.
Do they really?
I think so.
Yeah, that wouldn't
Mike and the Mad Dog had those
Jonny
too.
Athletic, the Jonny Athletic jingle is kind of close. So I feel
It is kind of
a good part of trying to keep that thing
That's
going.
true. That's
so
true.
I like it.
It's a very good point. All right, my friend. We'll be in touch. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Dan.
That's
See ya.
John Krasinski, Jonny Athletic, helping us out. Half hour to go. We'll get Gaardsy's favorite Chad and Barrero moment or moments in a minute, and then we'll get to some more texts, and we'll kind of mix and match the final half hour of a very busy holiday Monday edition of the. Well, Hartman says he's pretty sure on, so I'll take his word for it. I
trust him.
I will admit that when I've said 2002, a lot of times I got that year in my head and never really checked it all that much. So he's saying it's definitely.
Well, let me try it this way.
Yeah.
Because you'll have a memory of this, I would think.
Yeah.
Because I trust Chad on this too. September 11th. Were you by yourself or were you with a partner?
September 11th.
9/11, 2001.
Yeah, 9/11. Oh my God, I honestly don't remember. So on that basis, we would have been still together.
No, we
would have been apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Today,
you know what? I think
2001.
that does make that does kind of ring a bell, because that would have still been when we were in Bloomington, Edina, wherever the Norwest, the formerly Norwest Bank building there. So yeah, that does make sense. Actually, that's very, very true, Davey. The favorite, and by the way, if you're just joining us, Chad had texted me a belief that today, 25 years ago, was the last Chad Barrero show.
I wish we had that archived.
So then, I asked Jonny Athletic for his favorite Chad Barrero moment. He didn't really have one. That's okay. You have, I'm sure, dozens of Chad Barrero highs.
Yeah, but they've kind of been intermixed now because I've worked with both of you for like 2 decades.
That's true.
So now I don't even remember what's real.
Yeah.
I do remember vividly after school one day listening in my room, 5006 Bruce Avenue. Top of the steps to the left was my bedroom. I'm guessing I had to be cleaning my room because I was either in trouble or I wanted something. And you guys opened the show because it started at 3, right?
It was, well, for a while.
I feel it was like 3 to 6.
It might have been 3 to 6. Might have been 4 to 7. No, I think it was 3 to 6. I think you're right.
I remember being in my room and you guys were talking about something having to do with the meters to go onto the freeway ramps.
Oh, God. Yes, we did. We ran that one into the ground.
So I caught it on one of the days.
Yeah.
And I just remember, and I don't remember like being offended by it or going, why aren't these guys talking sports? I just remember that was the topic while I was cleaning my room. And I think it speaks to, people always say stick to sports. Well, I didn't always do that because that would have been mid-90s. That would have been 95, 96. The other Chad Barrero moment that I just thought of would be when you guys told me that the Timberwolves were leaving.
Yeah, we have talked about that.
I was
before.
at Pamela Park, getting ready for
and I think
probably baseball.
I think we did that show from the former location that the Target Center cage was in. I think we did it from Target Center.
The belly of the beast.
I'm pretty sure we did that day or one of those days for sure.
So I remember that. That was not a good memory because, as you know, the Timberwolves are my team.
No.
From 1989 on.
Well, again, that was the day it broke. And then what I remember about it is I had to write about it. And so I get done with the show and I go back to the Star Tribune at 425 Portland. That doesn't exist anymore, I don't think. And by the time I get there, or a little after that, is when the press release that changed everything came out from David Stern, basically saying, in effect, not so fast, my friend. There are a million hoops that were not cleared here. We're not satisfied that this is the time or place or that this team should be sold to any place in which it might leave Minnesota.
Yeah.
And at that point, because until then, it was almost like we're all writing funeral dirges or singing funeral dirges, I guess I should say. And it's over. There's no looking back on it. It was just an assumption that was it because we all knew what the arena situation was, the Harvard Marv situation was. And then that simple statement opened the door to, wait a minute, this might not be as easy as we thought. Maybe we shouldn't assume that this is going to happen.
And I feel like that realization happened while I was at baseball. So I feel like I went to baseball being just bitter and devastated. And then I got back in the car and I'm assuming it was my mom, might have been my dad, said, hey, the Wolves' dream might not be dead. Paraphrasing. So I do remember that swing of emotions. All in the same day.
Mark from Lakeville. Dan, how about the infamous Norm Green interview with Chad? Didn't Norm commit to the interview only if you weren't involved? That's true. In fact, we did that show, again, my recollection is we did that show from Tom Reed's. And the deal was, Green. Would that have been literally the start of the Wild? What would have been the reason to do the show from
Probably.
And Chad got Green to agree to go on, but that was the stipulation. Even though I was there, he said, I'm not doing the interview if Barrero's involved in it. And then that becomes the editorial question is, well, is that giving too much into the weasel Norm Green? And I ultimately said no, because I thought it's annoying, but I knew Chad would ask him, good questions anyway. And secondly, it's like, it's too good a get on that day. So he said, you got to put him on it. But I had to go get a wine cooler.
Go hit a bucket of balls.
Get a spritzer,
I would have walked across the street to Casetas. Time Reed. That's what I would have done. Got some Mastacholi.
Yeah, very true. I don't know how well this was received, but I remember a stretch where Common would play Send in the Clowns for his closing music.
I remember that.
Leading into the show. We all remember it.
I remember my dad saying that.
Yes.
Upon the transition. He's like, he's playing Send in the Clowns.
Yes. Well,
I remember that very vividly.
That's all very, very true, Davey, for sure. Loved hearing the Chad Barrero jingle again. My favorite, where did it go here? Moment from the show is when you had mystery guests that listeners could call in and try to guess after asking them one yes or no question. My mom, who was a huge fan of the show, called in and guessed that the guy you had on that day was Aunt Jemima, rendering you, Chad, and the mystery guest speechless.
Would have been a good guess.
She also called in a few other times, once saying that on air that you reminded her of her late husband, Joe DiMaggio. You both thought it was a bit, and must have been somebody associated with the station disguising their voice to sound like Mr. Bill. It was all in good fun, but maybe she played a small role in the station. No longer taking calls from listeners. That's from John. How about the guy taking a bath during the interview? That was, of course, Will McDonough, the legendary Boston Globe writer, columnist, and then he ended up also on CBS doing NFL stuff. A legend. Not Sean McDonough, Will McDonough.
Yeah.
And he was the NFL, one of the earliest examples of the NFL information guy, right? He had everything. A lot of gossip, a lot of dirt, but a lot of good stuff, a lot of good reporting. And we could hear, one of the occasions we had him on, splashing. So it sounded like splashing. And one of us eventually just asked him, Will, are you? And he acknowledged he was taking a bubble bath. Will McDonough, tough guy, who once cold-cocked a New England Patriot player,
right,
who challenged him, and he beat the crap out of him. The only time I think in the history of sports journalism in America where the journalist has been tougher than the player was, relaxing in a bubble bath when he chatted with us. It's pretty good.
I bet it was a good conversation.
He was excellent. He's an excellent guest. He was absolutely an excellent guest. All right, let's do this. Let's pause, wrap up the program, remind you what you might have missed and what we might have coming up the rest of this very Abyssy-like week. Stan.
Show Wrap is presented by American Pressure, commercial-grade pressure washer since 1975.
It's the Bumper to Bumper Show Wrap.
Yourself a favor tonight if you decide to watch a Robert Duvall movie. Branch out from the big name films that you probably already seen and try to rent a picture called The Paper. I just looked at a scene that unfortunately we can't play because there's a couple of Effenheimers in it, in which Robert Duvall plays a big city New York tabloid editor, and it's a scene in which he's complaining about columnists. He says, I got too many. I got sports columnists. I got Metro columnists. I got lifestyle columnists. He said, the only thing I don't have is any dead columnists. And he plays such a great role, does Duvall, as an editor in this film. And chances are you haven't seen it. And I got to believe it's gettable via the usual places you attempt to rent stuff like that. It's a it's got a terrific cast beyond Duvall and Keaton. And it does, it gives you a little bit of a window into sort of the daily deadline grind, I should say, of a major metropolitan tabloid newspaper. It's a really, he's certainly done better movies. And this one's got a lot of melodrama in it, but it's entertaining as hell. I don't think you'd be disappointed. And as I mentioned, it's a great way to salute him as the quintessential crusty newspaper editor. who also confides to Michael Keaton that he's got his problem at that moment is he's got a prostate the size of a bagel, which he says is part of, which is more information than Michael Keaton wants as one of his reporters, but is definitely worth the time. Great text coming in today saluting Robert Duvall, who's passed away at the age of 95 years old. Want to also thank Tom Crean, who joined us for an extensive conversation on a lot of good basketball stuff, tanking stuff, Wolves stuff, etc. That was between 4 and about 4:35, and the usual outstanding work from Jonny Athletic, who joined at 5:30. Tomorrow, I'm assuming, is a Luigi Day.
That's the plan.
For right now, at least.
Yes.
We'll see what he's up to. And then we got to, I guess, make some decisions on Seifert and whether we give him a little bit of a break. Because I don't think there's a lot new right now for the moment. But it'll start picking up again in no time, I'm thinking. Right?
Combine's like a week away.
Is it that close?
It's within the next couple of weeks, yeah.
My God. Is there a tsunami heading our way, or I think it's going to stay north of here? I think there's supposed to be a lot of snow. I think we're supposed to end up with rain.
Yeah.
Or not once the I don't think the temperature is going to be cold enough for us to get a tsunami. That's
Thursday, Friday, maybe a little snow.
Okay, but nothing.
But the rest this week is rain.
Very, very serious. Dan, speaking of the Chad and Barrero days, how about your meltdown over your experience with the Calhoun Square, or the square formerly known as Calhoun, florist La Veranda? Would love to hear that one again. Yeah, that I was at war with a flower shop, which is a story we can tell again perhaps on tomorrow's show. And it was one of the few times where Bossberg eventually came in during a break and said, "Are you about done with the La Veranda bit?" I said, pretty close. I don't even know if he's done it since, but he did do it on that. And I don't know if we had a sponsorship with La Veranda. Not exactly sure, but
you cost us the La Veranda deal.
The story. Falling Down, Robert Duvall, the film you mentioned earlier, that's come up here late as well. A dark film. You got to be in the mood for it.
Yeah.
But an extremely good one as well. What else did I have? Let me see. There might be one other Chad and Barrero one. One of my favorite Chad and Barrero memories, trying to get up close and watch you guys live at the State Fair when you were in a tiny little booth outside some big building. That's Terry from Austin. That describes it perfectly. We were outside a big building, and we had like a lean-to. And there was really no place for people to watch or listen, and at that point there weren't probably that many people all that interested anyway, but it did get better over a period of
and that was the time. That was the era where you were knocked off the air, right? But they still wanted you to do the show for people that might be walking by.
Well, what I remember is, and again, Chad's got a better, see, this is where he'd be better than me with Jonny Athletic. I thought there was a time we were at headquarters and we were knocked off the air except for the people who are walking by our State Fair location, even though we weren't there.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Could listen through the speakers, and they said just keep talking for those 9 individuals. So, but again, I might have that story. Okay, there's so much stuff that I've part of my problem is I don't. A lot of people, they take notes, they record some of this stuff, they have diaries. I have none of that.
Right.
I'm not a good Are you a good diary keeper?
I have a lot of notes.
Do you?
And I keep a lot of them.
Yeah.
So I remember, but I have a good memory in general.
You do?
At the moment.
That's true.
The
only thing I got to go back to is find stuff I read. I wrote to remember that I wrote it, and then then it comes back to me and I remember a lot of details about it. So as I mentioned, Louis, at least tomorrow, will get updated on his Winter Olympic thoughts. And I'm hoping for Russo sometime this week as well. I know he's real busy, but I'd like to get him sometime before this week is done. Fan on Demand is going to follow us tonight. Is that correct, as usual?
That is the plan.
And then now that we're in the Abyss period, Dan Patrick, you mentioned it's a big week for your Gopher Women's Basketball Club.
Huge.
2 ranked teams this week, both at the barn, right? Ohio State, and then what's the second one?
Michigan State on Sunday.
So Tuesday and Sunday?
Wednesday and Sunday.
So how does it work? Are those games on Big Ten Network? Are they somewhere else? Or are we not on the map enough yet? How's that go?
I know Sunday is on Fox Sports 1, FS1,
okay,
which is a big deal.
Yeah.
And I believe Wednesday is Big Ten Network as well.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
I believe so. And they're always available on KFAN Plus.
That's a good point. That's true. That's also very helpful. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you listening. And as I mentioned, we'll get the whole thing started again tomorrow at 3 o'clock with, at the very least, Luigi, and we'll continue to work on some other guests as well. We hope Russo. Eventually, I'm going to start bugging Bill Guerin as well, who's promised that at least once he would join us. Maybe we let him get a little bit. Well, is it better now or later? That's the thing. It's going to get grindier later.
I think they play tomorrow.
Do they?
I'm pretty sure they play tomorrow. So maybe Wednesday.
Yeah, maybe that's the day to do it. And thank you for all your Robert Duvall suggestions and nominations as well. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 3.
The stories a stadium could tell.
Change the space. Be happy. Enjoy.